Guys, in today's video I show you how I made yogurt for the very first time in my dehydrator. Let's go. So we're going to get kicked off really quickly here, and first off I'm going to put a dairy thermometer on the side of my big pot, and then into my pot I'm going to put the milk. Well, because you know that's obvious, and because yogurt is made from milk mostly. You can do plant-based. This one's not plant-based, and if you have a look very carefully, there's a red sticker on that milk. This milk cost us all of about 40p because it was on offer. Bam has started bringing me markdown milk from work, so it's costing me pennies to make this, which is great. It's absolutely fantastic. He's such a good boy to his mummy. Now we're taking this over to the stove. Let's do it. So we're going to put the temperature, the gas on really medium. It has to be medium. Don't put it on high. You'll burn your milk. Now we're going to want to get the milk to 85 degrees Celsius, or which is 185 degrees Fahrenheit, and you want to do this fairly slowly. You don't want this to happen very quickly, or it's going to burn and boil over and all that kind of stuff. Also, do not do what I'm doing. Do not play with the temperature control. You can mess it up. Once we have got to our desired temperature, we're then going to put the milk aside off the heat for about 40 minutes until it drops down to around about 45 degrees Celsius, which is about 113 Fahrenheit. And then we're going to add in our yogurt starter. I'm just using some plain yogurt that I bought because that will work just as well as a starter that you buy that's freeze dried. And then we're going to mix that in very carefully and leave it just for a little bit, just to let it settle and mix in nicely. But you need to make sure that it's fully mixed in. Now after we've done that, we're going to take this to our jars. Now we want beautifully sterilized jars for this, and sterilized lids, sterilized equipment, sterilized everything. Everything has to be the cleanest it's ever been in the whole history of your kitchen, because dairy is a pernickety thing that can go badly very quickly, so we don't want to mess about with it. So now you're just going to pop this in your jars and get them up to the collar. Fill them to the collar of the jar. They're not going to expand, and it's not going to shrink in this process. Now having a funnel really does help with this, because as you can see I did make a bit of a splodge already, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's on the outside, you know, and that can always be cleaned off. It's so lovely. This is such a fun process as well. I mean, I don't normally sit over things to watch them cook or to watch their temperature or anything like that. But honestly, this I really mother henned. I was a proper broody mother hen with this lot, and I just stayed where I needed to be. As you can see, I have 6 jars here. I actually ended up needing a couple more because I forgot that, you know, I'd added more ingredients to this and needed a couple more, which is okay. It's fine, you know, it happens. It just slows the process down a bit if they're not already organized, but that's okay. And since I put aside my entire morning for this process, yeah, it was all good. I didn't need that long, by the way. I really didn't. I needed about half an hour. That was it, honestly, from start to finish. Now you're going to put your lids on. These are not lids that need to seal. It doesn't need to seal. It won't seal in these. It's not a process that is conducive to creating a seal. But just having them just nicely tight on the jars is enough. Now on this particular day, I happened to have something else in the dehydrator. It was more milk. I was making milk powder at the same time as doing this, but there was just enough room in the bottom of my dehydrator to put my jars of yogurt, and they fit perfect, and they're done at the same temperature as the powdered milk, which is 50 degrees Celsius, which is 122 degrees Fahrenheit, or 120 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't think there's too much of a difference there, honestly. And you know, they'll be done at about the same time. I had the dehydrator going for around 8 hours, honestly, because you know that's how long the powdered milk took, and the longer you leave the yogurt in there, the thicker it gets. So 8 hours was good for me. It gave it some really lovely texture. Now we don't have to babysit this now. It can go away and we can get on with the rest of our day. And that whole process took a total of around 30 to 40 minutes. And like I said, I did it at the beginning of my day so I could go off and do whatever I wanted to afterwards, which I did. Now 8 hours later, it's the evening and we have some beautiful homemade yogurt. It could have gone for longer. What I ended up doing was I ended up leaving it in the dehydrator overnight to cool off a wee bit. Yeah, that's where I made the decision to leave it in there overnight. And the next morning I had it with some banana granola and sunflower seeds, and I also turned it into a dressing for a potato salad. And now I'm going to show you how to make one of my favorite cheeses from it. Now Labneh is a cheese that is a beautiful soft cheese made from yogurt, and all you need is a sterilized bowl, colander and cheesecloth and some yogurt, and you just pour it straight into the cheesecloth. Now this is the yogurt that I would have made the day before and brought straight out from the fridge. Look at that. That is just amazing. Oh, I can't even tell you how yummy this yogurt was. Now I think this particular time I used maybe three and a half jars of the yogurt to make this Labneh. Now this is the kind of job you can actually do with shop bought yogurt as well, if that's what you choose to do, and that's fine. And it's literally this easy. There's no playing with it, hanging it, any of that kind of stuff. You got your bowl, your colander, your piece of cheesecloth. You could even use a brand new blue chuck cloth if that's what you wanted to do, or dishcloth if that's what you have, as long as it's absolutely spotless and sterilized. And do it that way. So Labneh is a Middle Eastern cheese, and it's, you know, being found around places in Turkey as well, around the Mediterranean, edge of the Mediterranean to Middle East. There's a couple of different ways it's served, and one is a dip and one is the way we're making today, and we are making Labneh cheese balls in oil. Now once we've got all our yogurt in there, we're just going to fold this gently over the top. You don't want to put any weight on it, none of that. Just fold it up, put it to the back of the bench and walk away for a day. While your yogurt is straining into Labneh, we are going to make our herbal coatings for our little Labneh balls. And the first one we're going to do is Tarragon, mint and lavender. So we're going to use 2 spoons of tarragon, gosh, I take forever. Really wish I'd hurry up. And a good fistful of dried mint. We're also going to put 1 spoon of lavender because it does go a long way. A little bit goes a long way. And yes, you can use the lavender from your garden. It just needs to be dried first. Don't use it fresh. It will go just not nice. No, just don't use it fresh, okay? No, don't do that. Next, we're going to do chili and rose, and we're going to use probably about a cup's worth of rose petals. And you can buy these as they are from any good herb and spice shop. And a good spoonful of chili flakes, dried. You don't want to use fresh herbs and spices for this. You want to have the dried varieties because otherwise the fresh will go a bit funny when it's sitting in the oil for months on end. Plus we want to break these down a little bit because some of them are full whole, what we call whole spices or whole herbs, like the mint. It was grown and dried by me, so I've just shoved dried leaves into the jar. So we just want to break those down a bit so that we have a more crumbly texture. Because in these herb blends we want to have a little bit of everything on our little Labneh balls. We don't want to have a big face full of mint and nothing anywhere else. So that's why we do it. We make sure that they're nice and crumbly all the way down. Now Labneh comes from the Middle East and the fringes of the Middle East and Mediterranean, where they have a lot of goats and a lot of sheep's cheeses, and you know, and yes, I've used cow's milk on this occasions, but basically in its truest form, Labneh is just what's known as strained yogurt. That's it. Now in the Middle East, it's something that's used like as an appetizer or pre-dinner snack. Sometimes it might be part of a lunch, and it's also served at breakfast with beautiful fresh breads, mostly flatbreads, yeah, but they are lush. Now pounding the rose petals may take a little bit more time than the mint did because they have a little bit more bounce in them. As much as they are fully dry, and they are fully dry and fine for this job, they will take a little bit longer. If you want to put them in the grinder, you can, but can I say that you end up with a very fine powder and it's not quite what we want. We do want to have a little bit of texture on the outside of these Labneh balls. So just take a few minutes and take some frustrations out on it. It'll be done quicker than you realise. Now making the Labneh the way that I am doing it, rather than serving it as a dip with a little bit of olive oil sprinkled over it, means that it can be kept in the fridge for several weeks, if not a couple of months. I've kept it for up to 6 months and that's been fine. That's only because I've usually forgotten it's there, and you know, otherwise it disappears somehow, evaporating. Don't ask me how that happens. I blame the pixies. That's all I can say. Now it's the next day and our Labneh is ready. And as you can see in the bottom of that bowl, we have a lot of liquid. Now that is whey. And the whey we are going to save. We are saving the whey because it has uses of its own and does not get thrown out. Do not throw out the whey, or I'm coming to chase you. Now, I've made this for a while, so I'm trying to do this the best way I possibly can, or I'm thinking I'm doing it the best way I can. So please be aware of that while I bimble around like somebody who's never done this before, but I have done this before. My kids will tell you. So I'm taking half of the Labneh out and popping it in a separate container, just to make sure that I don't make too much of one and not enough of the other. Do you know what I mean? Because it can happen. It can happen, and it does. It really does. But look at how thick that's become. You know, really, really thick. All the liquid's been drained out and we're just left with the curds. So to be completely honest with you, you could have avoided this step. Don't do this step. You don't need to do this step unless you're only going to use some of the Labneh now, and then you're putting it away for again. But I'm going to be using all of it. So I've just made myself washing up, and I will kick myself later. Don't worry. Don't you do it. Yes, this is definitely a case of do as I say and not as I do. Now to make your Labneh balls, the way that I'm doing it, first off, you're going to need a couple of spoons so that you can get yourself a nice little scoop of the Labneh and turn it into a ball shape. Later on in the video, I will be showing you a completely mess-free way of doing this that will make life so much easier than this. Again, this is a do as I say, not as I do, unless you want to play with your food and be very tactile. You can do it this way with no problems at all. Okay? Now, I found this very difficult because, as you can see, I'm getting cheese in my herb blend, and I didn't want to do that. That's a very, very bad idea. And I've got cheese all over my fingers and I can't really touch anything, but I can roll that straight into the jar. These jars need to be sterilized. Okay? And I need to do something with my hands right now, like get them clean. Which I'm doing. Just for you. No, it's for me mostly because ew. So yeah, the jars do need to be sterilized, so just make sure that they are properly sterilized. Just don't touch the inside of the jar, okay? If the outside's fine, the inside not so much. Okay? I still haven't learned at this point that it's a really easy, there is a much easier way, so we're just going to keep getting messy and cleaning our hands each way through. If you want to use gloves, you use gloves. That's entirely up to you. You do you, boo, but I can't wear gloves, so I'm not going to. I just have to do it this way until I suddenly realise that I've been doing it all wrong. And that's okay. See, I'm almost there. Almost getting it. Almost getting it. You'll see. You'll see. Just give me a couple more balls to figure it out. Now, since myself and Bam are pretty much the only ones in the house that will eat these, I'm not making a shocking lot of them, and that's okay. That doesn't matter. It's more about showing myself that I can do this still, you know, and bringing you guys along for the ride, you know. Well, that ball went sideways. If I show you how I am relearning skills and I'm bimbling it along the same way as everybody else, I want you guys to realize that it's still okay, that I'm not perfect. And as much as I know how to do this stuff, I get it wrong too sometimes. And that's okay. And when you're relearning skills, that's going to happen more than you realize. It really is. We're almost at the end of the mint and tarragon and lavender. balls. I think I basically did half a dozen of each in the end. Now, one of those cheese balls is enough for a really generous portion on a beautiful piece of sourdough bread. Okay, if you want to be really naughty, you could have one of each flavour on the end of each. If it's a big wide sourdough loaf, and be very naughty, and you could have one of each, and just sit there like little person happy and just enjoy, because seriously you will. Now you need to make sure that your jar is completely clean along the outside of it. Please make sure it's clean. And now we're going to add in the oil. I'm actually using a rapeseed oil for this. I'm not using olive. Olive is the traditional. I'm using rapeseed because it's what I have. Okay? So don't jump on me. You do you, boo. I am just saying, you know, I'm using what I have. In fact, this might actually last a bit longer because I use the rapeseed and not the olive oil, because the olive oil will go off a lot quicker. So, you know, that's now ready for the fridge and can be kept in the fridge for as long as it takes. It can also be kept in the root cellar or dry store pantry as long as it is a cold store, dry store pantry. You don't want to put that one just in the pantry you walk into in your kitchen. It probably won't be as happy if you do that. So keeping it in the fridge is probably the best plan. Now, as you can see, I've started rolling the rose petal and chili Labneh balls. And to be completely honest with you, I don't want to have my hands in this chili too often, because that could end up in a not nice situation. So this is where I decided that there has to be a better way of coating the balls, because I don't want to get all the chili on my fingers, because that would be bad. Hold tight, kids, here it comes. Right, ready? Spin your ball in the bowl. Get it going all the way around, and at the same time it's shaping itself, and all you end up having to do is flip it over to finish that off. It's that simple. So you haven't had to get messy fingers. Well, you probably got a bit on your hands, but not half so bad as before. Now, I honestly really love the rose and chili, and I will be having to make a lot more of that. Now, it's entirely up to you how and what flavors you put on your Labneh. Whatever works for you, you know. You could use mint and lemon. You could use all sorts of things. You know, you could even do like a pesto, almost like a basil and whatever floats your boat, whatever your favorite flavors are. You know, it'll work. It'll work, but don't go overboard. You know, because yeah, going overboard can be just as bad as under seasoning. Now, if you are not very up on your herbs and spices yet, but you have a few spice blends, use your spice blends. You could use Ras Al Hanout with this. You could use bearberry spice from Ethiopia with this. You could use all sorts. If you want to check in the cards above at this point, there is a playlist there of some of my favorite spice blends that I've done. So yeah, go and check them out and see what one might work for you. And just use a regular spice blend to start off with, and then play with your spices and your herbs later on when you know a little bit more and are more comfortable with them. Now we've topped this one off with the same oil, and they are beautiful. Now you could eat those straight away. You can have them straight away if that's what you want to do. I personally prefer to wait around about a week. I'm not always good enough or, you know, strong enough in myself to wait a week. There you go, guys. 45 minutes over 2 days to make yogurt and labneh, and it's so worth it. So thank you so much for being here with me today and coming along on this part of the journey with me, and I will see you again very, very soon. Bye.